Today we're being joined by Sydney AFLW ruckman Kate Reynolds. Kate, thanks for coming on.
No worries at all. Always up for a chat.
No, so let's get right to it then. So obviously you're a mature age ruckman, obviously at the Swans. How's the injury process been for you so far in this season?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a tough injury I have. I have a navicular stress fracture in my foot, which is probably one of the worst ones to get. So it just happens over time, and I actually did the crack in it during the time trial on the first night of preseason. During the 1.5K. So the navicular bone doesn't get much blood flow. Mark Sheether in the men's team had the same injury, and he had it a couple times. So you just have to be really cautious with it. So I did 10 weeks on crutches, which was a challenge. Considering my apartment I live in is a 3-floor walk-up, so that was a lot of fun on crutches. I actually had to wear hiking boots for 4 weeks. So part of like the new research, and the team was amazing at Swans, like the physio team. They worked with Ballet Australia because they have a lot of foot injuries and figured out what's the best thing for these sort of stress fractures, and keeping it in like a locked-in position in a hiking boot. So I had to wear those 24/7 for 4 weeks. That was really exciting. And then it was touch and go. You just have to wait to see the scan. So I got a scan a couple of weeks ago and it's all healed. So that's really good because they can just never heal. And if they crack all the way through, it's career ending. So it's been a slog. But the great news is it's all healed. So now I'm just, returning to run, doing about 5Ks a session now, and then just would be integrating back into training, the next couple of weeks. But there's just no time really because our season's so short.
So I kind of did this backwards, but tell us a bit about yourself and what got you into footy and the journey to the Swans.
Yeah, of course. So I grew up with rugby, actually. As you can see, I'm actually at my parents' house today. But my dad played for the Wallabies, and then he coached them. So I grew up with rugby union. Didn't really know what AFL was. I played all sports because I'm super tall. I'm 6'3", so I played every single sport growing up. Didn't know what AFL was because I'm from Sydney. And, at that point, now it is more so, but at that point it wasn't really an AFL state. New South Wales was. Yeah. And then when I was in year 10, the director of sport at my high school said, I'm going to start an AFL team. And he kind of plucked people from all sports. So he took like 5 from water polo, 5 from netball, 5 from basketball, 5 from athletics, 5 from rowing, and made this like Frankenstein team to play AFL for the first time. And I just fell in love with it. I guess being a taller, stronger player, I got penalised in every other sport. Like in netball, it'd be contact or it would be obstruction. In basketball, I'd get fouled out. So once I started playing AFL and had, I could use my hand-eye coordination and I could kick and I could tackle, I loved it. And then my first couple of years, I played state when I was under 18s. And the comp was only really starting then, so there weren't really any pathways. So then I went to university up on the Gold Coast and I played in the Quaffle League up there. But it was just alongside my time at uni. Like it wasn't really something I was focusing on. Like it was just because I'd always loved sport. And then at that point in AFLW, kind of had to make a decision in terms of I was like, do I go for my career in uni or do I go for football? So I focused on my career then, did a bit when the Suns came in and worked a bit with them. But then I moved. Then that all kind of ended on the Gold Coast and I lived there for 4 years and moved back to Sydney. And then I thought, I'll just play for fun when I'm down here because I work in media. I actually work in podcasting, funnily enough.
Awesome.
And I moved back to Sydney. I did work for a job at Nova. And so I was working at Nova, focusing on that. Like the job was quite big, playing footy for fun locally here. And then my second year playing is when the Swans were coming in, but I wasn't really thinking about it. I sort of thought about going for it, but they weren't really looking for like traditional ruckmen. And then they picked me up actually a week before the season started. So
that's nice.
Yes, it was a whirlwind.
For sure. So you mentioned there about being a late signing. Did you have any indication around that point that the Swans were showing some interest to pick you up at that point?
No, not really. I was a train-on. And so I was training with the side just for some high-quality training. And, why not?
Yeah.
You're not going to say no to that.
Of course, yeah.
And, I thought I was training quite well and was really just trying to have a crack because, I've been Queensland's a high-quality sort of competition. So I was definitely holding my own. But no, not really. Like, you get a bit here and there. But I just didn't even think I knew that they could sign people later. And no, I was just training and going with the flow. And then how I actually got signed is on a Sunday morning, and also it was the week before the season, so I just wasn't clocking that it was even possible. And I went to go have breakfast with a friend. It was 9 a.m. on a Sunday morning, and I got a text from Scott, and he just said, "I'd love to chat about your future as a train-on." Still didn't click. And I was like, okay, maybe he wants me to train a couple more days or something because there's no chance that could be the case because it's so close to the season. So I said, yeah, sure, Scotty, I'm just with a friend at the moment, so I'll call you back. So I had breakfast with the friend, didn't even think about it. Then went to my car. I was about to go to a shop at Woolies. I'm in a Woolies car park. And I was like, I'll just call Scott, see what he wants to chat about. And that's when he called me. He was asking me all these questions like, how's your body feeling? How are you going? I was like, oh, yeah, I'm just playing Sydney footy at the moment. We're going into we were about to play, I think the day before we played our last round of finals or something, we've been knocked out. And I was like, oh, really good. Like, I've played so many games of football year. I'm so fit, so good to go. And he was like, oh, well, we're making Montana Berylson inactive. Would you like a spot on the team? And I was very shocked and was not expecting for that phone call to go the way it did. And, that was essentially how it happened.
So it's a much different process than having to go through the draft, through all the combines and everything like that. It's nice to actually hear these stories like that because it's probably the much harder way to get through. I mean, people that are getting drafted, getting to the combine, they've got a much better indication, more likely.
Yeah, exactly.
Sure. So obviously the Swans, you've got a few ruckmen and probably been one of the more experienced in terms of age ruckmen. What kind of advice have you given Ali Morford, Bella Smith, girls like Lexi Hamilton as well that have played in that ruck position as well? What advice have you given on to them?
Well, Ali is just a natural talent. Like, she's absolutely killing it. Worked super hard to her credit in the off season to get super fit. So I haven't had to give her much advice. Can't claim any of her glory there. And she is very athletic. But with her being injured, I have, wanted to give tips here and there to Bella and Lexi. And I mean, Lexi in her own right has played a bit of ruck. So she's just sort of goes into the body. She's super aggressive. And that's what I've said to her in terms of just using that as her power. And then the same thing for Bella. Like, Bella is just such a skillful player. You could probably put her in any position. So I've just sort of said to her, just make sure you communicate and you work with your team because that's sort of a big thing with me as a ruckman is I love to work with my mids and know how they play, know how I play. But yeah, I'd say for them, like being chucked in the deep end, it's just all about comms and about talking to their teammates. But as I said, Lexi is super ruthless. If you're going to put her in a position, she's going to perform. And Bella just is a natural football talent.
Sure, I agree there. So what the season so far, obviously, it's good for the girls to play in their second season after the first year, obviously not winning a game, and then the second season start okay and then shoot up really well in the mid to late part. And now to play finals, who was it I had on last from the Swans? I can't remember who it was last. I've had BT on, Brenna Tarrant. I've had Hayley Bulls as well. It's a couple of the girls in the injury department as well. It's so exciting, to see how the season's progressed to then get to the finals though, because obviously it was that nervous patch obviously with Freo, the Collingwood game and games around that. Get to the part and that's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, it's very exciting. And we did a lot in the off season. So before we'd even changed any of our list, we had been training since about November, December. So we were on the track from then, had a lot of tough conversations about what we needed to do to get above, work ahead and get ahead of ourselves because we obviously didn't want to gain. So we didn't want that to happen again. So it's really exciting. It's exciting to see all the fruits of our labor after all that hard work coming to fruition, which is great.
Gold Coast this week. How do you think the girls will go this week? Obviously, going up to the Gold Coast on tomorrow night. How do you think they're going to fare there? And obviously, Gold Coast, another side in this a bit of a similar situation where, they've gone from out of nowhere as well, and they've shot up, and they're going to be a good contest.
Yeah, I think it will be exactly that contested. Gold Coast are known for being a very pressing, contested side. But I think we've just proved ourselves, especially last year and a bit of this year, we have tended to play reactive footy. So we kind of wait to see how the other team plays and then react to it and adjust accordingly. But I think we've definitely learned over the tough games like Hawthorn and then the flip side of that, Collingwood, what our brand is. I think, I obviously am biased, but I have so much faith and I think we're going to really give it a red hot crack.
Who do you think you need to quell the influence of at the Gold Coast to get the job done? Obviously, it would help being Charlie Rowbottom for them or for the rest of the final series, no matter how far they go. And Lucy Singer, obviously, someone that's been doing a tagging job. Do you expect Laura Garner or someone like that to get tagged in that position? Because she's obviously done really well recently.
Yeah, Lucy's actually a really good friend of mine. Because I know a lot of the Gold Coast girls because I played with them a bond.
Of course,
a lot of them came from the same club. I have thought about that. I think Lucy may potentially tag either Laura or Chloe.
Yeah.
Or they may just let her run on her own, but she is a beautiful tagger. And it helps not having Charlie Rowbottom in there. And also, unfortunately, Kalinda Howarth as well, two of their really good players out with injury. I think as long as we can shut down some of their strong forwards, Jack, I never know how to pronounce her last name.
Dupay, I think it is.
Yeah, Dupay, however it is. And Jamie Stanton as well. As long as we can shut them down and, get into them early and not let them have confidence, I think, we'll be able to. And we're a super fast side. Like, they're actually quite a similar side to us, I'd say, in how their list is built. And I would have loved to have seen Lauren Bella and Ali Morfitt go up against each other. But, I think it'll just be a contested game and people who keep the team that keeps their process and has enough grunt will win the game because finals is just a different kettle of fish.
Sure. Were you a part of that footage last week that the girls filmed? I'm trying to think. Oh, no, you posted it, I think, with one of was it in a room somewhere? How good was that moment? Officially qualifying.
So yeah, that was me. That was me posting it. Because obviously being injured, it's been, Hayley, because Bullis is one of my best mates in the team, we've really focused on, whilst we can't impact a lot on field, we're trying to do as much as we can off field. So for all non-selected and injured, we'll always like to rally the troops when there's games that we can't be at. It was a really good moment. And, we are definitely one team and everyone does what they can. And we focused a lot on connection this year and, getting to know each other and how that translates to on the field. So it was an amazing moment. When I was setting it up, they're all going, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "Don't worry, you're going to love this content."
That's right. No, it was very good. Well planned out too. That was good.
Yeah.
Very good to see. What's the week-to-week like for an AFLW play for you? I obviously know been in the rehab for most of this season, but how's the week-to-week generally for you?
Yeah, I feel like being in rehab, you sometimes do more than the players because you have so many boxes to tick. But I also work practically full-time. So I work at Channel 9 and I work in audio, so podcasting and live streaming in the commercial world. So essentially how I make money from it. So it's a pretty full-on gig. So I'm there Monday, Tuesday when we're in preseason. I'd be there Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday working. And then Wednesdays we'd have training. So, it'd be work Monday, leave, go to the club Monday night, get home at 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, go again, be in the office all day Tuesday, Wednesday be at training from, 7 to 1, recharge, back in the office Thursday, training Thursday night, get home at 9 p.m, and then the same thing on Saturday. So it's definitely not easy, but you just get it done. You give a busy person a job and it's going to get done. So I'm definitely very organized.
Definitely. I was just going to ask you who your favourite teammate is, but I assume you're going to say Hayley's considering you just mentioned it before.
Yeah, I'm going to say Hayley. Somebody asked me that the other day. When we were in the massage room, somebody, I think Brooke was like, "Kate, who's your favourite player?" expecting me to say, "Sorry, who's your favourite teammate?" safe to me to say, "Oh, I love everyone," and I just immediately said Haley Bliss. But no, it's just the injury bond. We've had myself, Haley, Maddie Collier, and Kiara Beasley, KB, in the rehab group, and you just so you get along very well. And Bullis and I are just on the same page, so I'm very lucky to have her.
That's fair. Any nicknames you get given at the club that you like or don't like?
I mean, I've actually said this to the girls before that I don't think it's a bit weird to explain this outside of context, but I actually get called Queen by everyone.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Not
because
bad.
I call everyone else Queen, so I think it kind of just caught on. And then I just have been called Queen. But or I get Mum because I'm just taller than everyone and always organizing things. Or I also get Caterade very infrequently. So
that's an interesting one. It's related to Gatorade, I'm assuming. Do you like Gatorade?
Yes, it is. I do. I love a bit of hydration, but Caterade's a funny one. I have a customized Gatorade bottle that I don't actually have on me. That has Caterade down the side that one of my friends, actually Isadora McClay, who plays for the Giants, had it made for me.
Nice.
So my nicknames aren't as good as some of the others in the team, like Spag or things like that. But there are a few.
Caterade, I actually don't mind. That's actually probably one of the best nicknames. That's probably one of the best ones and interesting ones that you wouldn't expect anyway. That's a good one. Now, Danielle Ponte kicked a goal early in the year from the centre square. Do you recall that moment?
Yes, I do.
Yeah.
I've watched her play because a friend of mine plays in the Sandful, and I've watched her play locally, and she is just such a talent. And Cynthia Hamilton, she in our team did that last year. I think she was a couple of steps out of it. So, from the centre square, that was pretty insane. Big boot on her and a lucky bounce.
But this also, since you mentioned Cynthia, this might be the answer here, but is there anyone in the team that would be able to replicate that moment or who thinks they can?
Yeah, I'd say it would be Chi, or I'd even go Bella Smith. Like if she was in the ruck, she has a big, booming left foot kick. Or I'd probably trust Morph on another day with another big, long leverage kick.
Yeah. If you could poach any player or players from another club, who would you like to steal?
Oh, I mean, it would be hard to go past Jazz Garner. She has just been such an insane talent this year. Or I'd probably say her.
Yeah, that's.
I'm just trying to think of other friends I have in the comp that I'd like to steal. But I mean, Jazz Garner is just an amazing talent. So, I mean, we'd be lucky to have her.
Sure. So Jazz might be the answer, but who do you feel is the best competition this year and just in general?
I mean, I was going to say Jazz as well. She is super talented. But otherwise, Kate Hoare, super crafty. And I mean, it's also been really interesting to see, the rise of our own Laura Gardner as well.
Yeah.
But I'd probably say those, or even Kate Hoare and Eden Zanker and I think who else got the leading goal kicker? I think it was those two, Kate Hoare and Eden Zanker.
They tied on 20. Chloe Shear was up there. I think Jamie Stanton was around the mark as well.
Yeah, I also really rate Chloe Shear too. I mean, I think we underestimated her when we played Geelong, but she is a natural football talent as well. So I definitely rate her highly.
That's a good answer. Who loves the limelight, the attention, and the camera can just not get enough of it at the Swans? There's probably a few.
I'd probably say Ali Morfitt. She loves it.
And getting a lot of attention too, being so good at this year.
Exactly. And I mean, she deserves it, and she definitely always looks immaculate too. So she's ready for it always.
Now, I mentioned at BT, your own team, at Brenda Tarrant, about who would be someone that would like to, that when you got an event on or a special function or something at the club, who just takes too long to get dressed, or who overdoes it all when getting dressed, or who takes the longest as well?
We had that question before photo day. My name actually got mentioned, but I'd say it would be Ella Heads, Alice Mitchell, and Morph would be the trio. Yeah.
BT mentioned Ella Heads and Morph, so there seems to be a trend there. So The more people that say it must be true then.
Yes, I'd say so.
Yeah. What's something someone does at the club that you cannot stand? Anything in particular, like leaving rubbish around, trying to scare people? I know Cynthia Hamilton got scared recently. So they posted.
Yeah, we have a lot of that. I mean, this is one thing that does annoy me is when people leave their hair in the shower. That one's a bit niche.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I mean, everyone's pretty good, but that one's pretty gross. But apart from that, I can't really think of anything else.
That's fair. That's a good thing. They can't think of more things.
I know.
And
It's good I don't have a laundry list.
Like you don't list things that annoy you. AFLW Fantasy, have you heard of it and do you play it?
Yeah, I've heard of it. No, I don't play it. I don't believe we're, encouraged to be overly involved. Okay. But I definitely have heard of it, and because it only came out this year, didn't it?
Yeah,
but
correct.
I think it's a good thing to be involved in that isn't strictly gambling.
Correct. Yeah.
So no, I think it's good. A good thing to have.
Sure. Who would pick themselves, you feel, no matter how good they are, whether they're injured, whether they don't get a game, or whether they know they don't score well because that's how they play as a player? That would just pick themselves still, regardless of any of that.
Do you know who I think has picked themselves? I would say Jade Anthony.
BT said the same thing as well.
Yeah.
So that seems to be the trend right there.
Yeah, I think she did pick herself.
Actually, it might have been Kira Beasley. I had KB on yesterday as well. So, Wednesday. I don't even remember now. Wednesday, I think it was. She said the same answer. So, it seems to be a trend there with Jade.
Yeah.
Did you play any others? Or you mentioned rugby. So you played rugby before footy?
No,
how'd you go with that?
I didn't actually play rugby. I just grew up around it. So I've been on enough rugby sidelines, for someone's lifetime. But I sort of played everything at school. I did a bit of rep netball, a little bit of basketball, but I played, my main 4 sports were netball, basketball, water polo. And then that also turned into AFL as well towards the end there. But I know I've got a very long wingspan, so I was a great water polo goalie. And a defender in netball. I was never allowed to shoot because my arms were so long that people couldn't shoot over me, so I had to stay in defense. And then for obvious reasons, I was playing basketball because I'm very tall.
That's true. That's good. Mark or goal of the year, which one would you prefer to do?
Mark.
Interesting. Why?
I just
goals.
I think it cut out for a second there.
That's all right. Why Mark? Why Mark?
I think I think there's just nothing better than, especially for me as a tall, when I go up for marks, I feel like I always have 7 people hanging off me because they always just want to, spoil. So I think for that reason, I'd want Mark of the Year because it was, a big clunk out of a pack. I would definitely want to be recognised for that.
So how was your game for you? How was that day? How were you beforehand? How were you after it? How was that day for you?
Which day, sorry? Just cut out.
The debut of your AFLW debut game.
Oh, yeah, it was scary. But they contemplated playing me the first round, but then they just figured that's probably a bit much to, get signed and debut within the same week. Need to process and bloody learn the names of all the girls. But the debut day was pretty special down against Collingwood at Vic Park. And it was Father's Day as well. So my dad actually got to present me with my jersey, which was really special. A lot of tears involved in that, obviously, because he's been a big influence and part of my sporting journey. But it went by in a flash. I had some of my best mates from all over Australia fly to watch, which was really special. But no, it was very cool. Definitely something I will never forget.
Now, I was just going to go some quick fire questions before we wrap up with the quiz. I appreciate you coming on. So, who is your rising star tip this year? Obviously, Ali Morfitt, Zali Goldsworthy, Ali Heads, Jazz Fleming are all up there. I went with those first. I mentioned Roberts, Zali, and Ali because it's so even enough. I couldn't pick, so I just picked all 3. They all had their moments, where you'd say it's them, but then the others, you're like, oh, yeah, but there's them as well.
Yeah, I think out of those who've been nominated, I think it's probably likely to be Morph. But then because she's been out, I know it's not a vote by round. So I think Zali Goldsworthy, she really came into her own at the end of the season. So in terms of, what the voting panel will remember, I have a feeling it might be Zali.
Yeah. Whoever it is definitely does deserve it. Extended season, you're happy with an extended season next year being pushed? I think it's 12 and then years after that more.
Yeah. We're in a bit of a touch and go process at the moment because you have to slowly, add in games and then add in more money and add in more time. But I think it's very exciting and it shows the faith, and the fact that we now have 12-month contracts is really good. So, it's moving in the right direction, which is really exciting.
Any teammates that you're impressed by just in the growth of how they've gone, either being good to elite or someone that's, kind of shot out of nowhere and it's just expectations being blown this year?
I think Soph Hurley is a really undercover agent. She just goes about her business, trains hard. She's put on a lot of size this year, just from being in a system and, being able to have a year of weightlifting and things like that. And I think she is just an amazing talent. Mon Ham as well. She is just so athletic. We had her for a bit in rehab, so I got quite close with her, and I just think there's really big things to come from her because I think you put her anywhere on the ground and she could be a ruck for all we know. And she's super talented. Who else? I do think Brenner and Ella down back are super strong. I mean, they're sort of the formidable force down there. And Chloe, we always knew she was going to be good, but just watching her and how silky she is and see how she can, change the game with her 5 side steps and 2 bounces in a row is pretty impressive. Yeah,
that's for sure. All right, before we get to the quiz, one more question before the quiz. Who is if it's not Sydney, who is your premiership tip, and who's probably been, do you feel, the team's toughest opponent to match up against this year?
I would say Melbourne, but then I just think Adelaide are so consistent, and they just obviously have their wins under the board, so they've got that experience. They've won a couple premierships, so I think as much as Melbourne gets all of the accolades, I'd probably say Adelaide.
Yeah, it's so even with those 4 teams in particular, and then you girls in Gold Coast and Geelong and Essendon around that bottom part of the 8. They're all on the day can show that they can beat one of those top 4 sides, no matter how strong they've been. All right, now, how well, Kate, do you reckon you know your own teammates?
Well, I'd say pretty well. Depends on what the type of questions are, but
they're pretty easy.
I endeavour to know a lot about all of my teammates. So, how many questions are there?
There's 3.
Okay, there's 3. All right, I reckon I'm going to say I'm going to get 100% because if
no pressure, Kate, but the 4 or 5 players I've had do these quizzes so far, I wish I'd started it from when I started interviewing people, but I haven't. Anyway, no one's got a question wrong. Now, there is one particular question that someone always gets stuck on. I'm not going to tell you what it is until it's happened, but I'll let you know then when it is. All right, you're good to go for that. Round 1?
Okay.
Question 1. Yep. All right, so this player is currently injured. So, sorry, how it works is I'll give you 2 clues. Then you'll have to guess. If you get it wrong, then I'll give you one final clue, and then if you have to get it for that one, otherwise then obviously get it wrong.
Okay.
All right, so the 2 clues for this person are they are currently out injured and they've played under 10 AFLW games.
Kiara Beasley?
No. Right, okay. So the final clue. They are in Sydney, yes.
Okay.
The Swans AFLW current players, not former or anything. Yeah. I'll be generous. I'll give it a redo it. Right, with a different part. Okay. So this player is still injured. They haven't played a game this year, but they've played some games last season, and it's between 1 to 5 games. That's the first part of the clue.
Okay. First part of the clue. What's the second part?
Yeah. All right. The second part is that was also part of it, that they're out injured currently.
Okay. Well, now in our own team.
Yes. They're currently injured right now, and they've played between 0 to 5 AFLW games.
Montana Berylton?
No. Right. The final clue is they are a ruckman.
Oh, me.
Yes. And you know what? I think the 5th player now that I've had that question to about themselves, And everyone has struggled. This is what I was going to say before. They've struggled more with the question about themselves than they have about their two other teammates.
I know. I was so focused on knowing about everyone else that I didn't even think about myself.
No, that's a good one. Right. These will be about other teammates who are current players at the Swans. Right. Okay. Number 2. So the 2 clues for this person so far is they play regularly and they're a defender.
Is it Brenna Tarrant?
Yep. Perfect. BT. Yes. Perfect. Didn't even need the next clue. So good job. That's 2 for 2. So you can get 3 for 3. All right. This one might be easy, but it's a little bit more harder clues than the ones given. Okay. So this player loves a celebration and they kick goals on the footy field.
Is it Brooke Lachlan?
No. Right. The final clue is they are around the top 5 in the Coleman medal race this year in the AFLW for the Swans.
Is it Rebecca Privatelli?
Yes, bro. I was a little bit worried there for a second. But you got it. Okay, you're not the first one to fail a question.
Yes. So that's really good.
Good. I really appreciate you coming on, Kate. All the best for the team for this week against the Suns, not the Swans. You are the Swans. Against the Suns this week. And no matter how the season ends, it's been a terrific year after not winning at all last year, and in the second year now to rise so far up. It's probably been impressive. It is impressive to see, and the most improved side this year. So, Kate, real pleasure coming on, and all the best.
Of course. Thanks so much for having me. And yeah, it is very exciting. So go Swans.
Thank you.